to speak about Northern Africa. And, oh my God, that's a lot. All right, great man. I hope that you're doing well today. In today's session, we'll continue speaking about Africa and the civilizations that arose in Africa. Of course, we have first spoken about the continent of Africa, and we have said that this continent is featured by many geographical features. Can someone please name some of the biomes and ecosystems in this continent? Iyad, for example.
The savannah,
Okay, where's the savannah yet?
like in the middle bottom a little bit. The green.
Southern.
Okay, middle, but okay, heat, yeah. Just beneath what? Let's start first with the north. In the north, we have
The Sahara Desert.
Sahara Desert, which is the largest desert in the whole world. Beneath the Sahara, here in the middle of the continent, this region is called
Savannah.
No. In the middle here, across the equator, we have the same thing here in Amazon. The Amazon rainforest. And here we have the rainforest. Across the equator here, we have the rainforest biome. The rainforest biome, because there is rain much of the year due to, of course, the equator. Beneath the rainforests, we have the plain area of tall grass, which is called the savanna. And here to the south of the continent, we have Sahara also. And here to the east and to the northwest of the desert, we have the mountainous region. So once again, we have spoken about the Sahara Desert, the rainforests, savanna here, and also this place, some part of it is savanna. To the north and the south of the rainforests, we have the savanna. To the south, we have the Sahara Desert. To the east and northwest, we have the mountainous region. Of course, all of that played an important role in the diversity of the people, the first people who started to inhabit this continent, were the ancient Egyptian people and their neighboring civilization, the Nubian one. And later, some people from West Africa started to spread towards the continent, to the central of Africa, and also to the east of Africa. Those people spoke many languages, and we have approximately 500 languages while were derived from their native language. Later, Mr. Lee can join us. That's great. After that, we spoke about the city of Kerma here in the Nubian civilization, and that the people from Nubia started to just mingle with the other civilization of the Mediterranean world. Usually, when we name the Mediterranean world, we are referring to ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, early Greek, and later the Roman Empire. So, to speak about that, in today's session, we'll speak about the rest of Northern Africa, which is nowadays Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. These people here who lived in this place, most of them, they were just Barbar or barbarians. What is the meaning of barbarians?
The Greek saw them as like who didn't speak their language.
Yeah, the Greek thought of those who did not speak Greek language as barbarians. But what is the meaning of barbarian?
No brain people.
What?
Okay. No brain people.
No brain people? No,
like,
there is no brain, Mr. Big Brain.
They are violent and not very
modernized.
Like they're kind of savages.
Savages, bravo, nice. So, to just describe the barbarian people, we can just say one word: nomadic. So, barbarian means nomadic. What is the meaning of nomadic people? Or who are the nomadic people?
People who keep traveling on the road, or they do not have a specific place to live.
They didn't have a specific place to live. Yes, they just moved from one place to another, searching for two things. Number one, some goods some food to gather, and some animals to hunt, and beside the water, of course. So most of the people who lived first in northern Africa, in nowadays Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, they were Barbar or barbarians, or what we call in Arabic Amazighi people. Those Amazighi people, okay, they just lived in the desert, moved from one place to another, lived in tribes. They did not have any civilization, or they did not contribute a lot in the civilization, not like their neighboring civilization, the Egyptian or even the Nubian people. Yet they just moved from one place to another. And later, of course, trade came. One of the most important people for trading were the Phoenician civilization, because we said that the Phoenicians, they are the carriers of civilization, if you can remember. We called the Phoenicians the carriers of civilizations. Why is that?
They spread the, like, I don't know what exactly, across the Middle East, like civilization
Exactly,
and stuff.
because they were civilized people, and they started to trade with other nations and other places. And while trading with those people, they brought their own civilization and their own culture. The Greek people adapted their language. The Egyptian people traded with them with different types of goods. The people from North Africa knew civilization on the hands of the Phoenician. And the Phoenician people actually were the first people to have a city, a capital city built in nowadays Morocco, of course. The city was called Carthage or Cordoba in Arabic. This is, became later one of the most important centers for trade in northern Africa. So to speak about North Africa and the whole world, we're speaking about Mr. Iyad. Will you please enjoy us?
Yes, North Africa and the ancient world. Early African civilization had strong ties to the Mediterranean world. Trade linked Egypt with Greece and Mesopotamia. Later, Egypt was ruled in turn by the Greek and Romans. These powers who also knew of the rich civilization that lay south of Egypt and valued Nubian exports. Over time, however, Nubia lost touch with the Mediterranean world.
So we were speaking about how first the people from northern Africa come counter the people from Egypt, because Egypt back then was a center for civilization, and the Egyptian people started to trade with the people for the Mediterranean world. And by saying the Mediterranean world, we are referring to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the early Greek and also Roman civilization. For all of these civilizations, they later come counter the people from northern Africa. And at one time, if you can remember, the early Greek people invaded Egypt by Alexander the Great. And later, the Roman also came to take control of Egypt. And we shall speak about that very soon. Not this one, this one. Okay, so trade linked, that's very important point. Trade linked Egypt with Greece and Mesopotamia. Just put a million line under trade, because trade was one of the most important reasons for civilizations to mingle, to come counter each other, and even to try to conquer and invade each other. Trade was one of the most important reasons for any civilization to deal with another civilization, whether they are dealing peacefully or in warfare. So, to speak about the Phoenician and Carthage, let's see what did they do. Brahim?
Yes. Okay. Phoenicians and Carthage. As Nubia thrived along the Nile, Carthage began to rise as a great North African power founded by Phoenician traders as a port on the Mediterranean coast. Cal- Carthage came to dominate trade in the Western Mediterranean from 800 BC to 40 to 146 BC. Carthage forged an empire that stretched from present-day Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco to southern Spain and beyond. As Rome expanded, territory, territorial and trade rivalries erupted between the two powers after a series of fierce wars. Rome eventually defeated Carthage and totally destroyed the capital city.
All right. So simply, we were speaking about at the beginning of civilization, when the time of the Phoenician people. The Phoenician people came counter Egypt with trade and later started to mingle with northern Africa until they came here and they constructed a city called Carthage or Cordoba in Arabic. Carthage. This city actually became a center for civilization for northern Africa and started to trade with Egypt, Nubia, Phoenicians, and early Greek civilization. But by the decline of the Nubian people, Carthage now started to take control of whole of northern Africa because of the minerals and all the manufactured goods it held. But unfortunately, later Rome came, and once Roman Empire started to stretch, the Roman Empire started to take control over all of the city and the walls, especially if they are rich in minerals or even in goods, like Egypt, for example. And by doing so, actually, the Roman people they made something very good. Although that they came only to take the goods and sources of the countries, but they made something good. There is a proverb in English that we say, "All roads lead to Rome." Have you heard that one before? All
Wait,
roads
repeat.
lead to Rome.
All roads lead to a Rome.
Lead to Rome,
Oh,
capital city of
Yes, of course, teacher. It's
yeah.
very
Why?
famous.
Yeah, it's very famous. Do you know why?
I heard it once,
Why?
but
Okay, because
I
the
heard it
Roman
from a
Empire.
priest or somehow.
Okay,
Okay.
let's see what's behind this proverb. Because the Roman Empire started first to stretch toward this Europe, and from Europe they came to the Middle East. From the Middle East, they took Egypt and later took control also of northern Africa. By doing so, they only made all of this in order to construct more trade and started to invest more in the other people, like what the United Kingdom have done in the past century. By doing so, of course, in order to facilitate the process of transferring goods from the occupied countries or the conquered countries, they need to have roads. So they will just, once they take Egypt, construct road in order to connect to Rome. They take Carthage, construct a road that it will lead to Rome. Take Constantinople or Istanbul, construct a road. Phoenician, construct a road. So they started constructing roads all around their conquered civilizations or conquered countries so that they will always be connected to Rome. And these roads will, number one, facilitate the march of the soldiers. Because if you have a road, then your soldiers, your troops will come easily, right, and will provide you a hand of help very easily. That's number one. Number two, also you will facilitate the process of transferring goods, and that's what we know nowadays as the proverb, "All roads lead to Rome." Why? Because most of the well-paved roads in the world back then, of course, all of them were connected to the capital city of the Roman Empire, which is Rome. That's why we say all roads lead to Rome. So, as the Roman Empire started to expand, territorial and trade rivalries erupted between the two powers. And of course, after a series of fierce wars, the Roman Empire eventually defeated Carthage and totally destroyed the capital city in order to take control of the resources of that city and help the spread, of course, their trade. Okay, so far so good.
Yes, I think so.
Any questions so far?
Not really.
So once again, we're speaking first when only the Egyptian people and the Nubian started to live in the continent of Africa. After that came some people from the west here of Africa. They started also to live. Those people were the Merwin. Okay, not Merwin. middle school diploma. Okay, so after the people from West Africa started to exam guidelines. After the people from West Africa started to spread towards the continent of Africa, they went to the center of Africa and also to the rest of Africa. Later, the barbarian people from North Africa started to mingle with the Phoenician people, and the Phoenician constructed a city called Carthage. After Carthage was made, it became like a beacon or a center for trade in northern Africa, apart from Cairo and Alexandria. Later, after doing so, your exam guideline have been issued, and I hope you.
Did you say the exam guidelines were issued?
Where
Yes.
are they? Where? Huh? What? Where? I
Under
can't find them.
revision.
What?
They have sent them. They are still under revision. Let's
Oh
reach.
my God.
Don't scare us like
No
that,
need to
man.
bring them out.
Ah,
You know that you're gonna be quizzed in both quarter 3 and quarter 4, right?
yeah. But
Yes, we are
when
very aware.
when what day? Like what is the date of the
When is the
first?
first exam?
Yeah.
The first exam is gonna be Sunday, 18th of April. It's gonna be mathematics.
Math. Oh my god,
Bruh.
no.
Bruh, why math first? What?
Math is bad.
Bro, the first day bad start. Oh my god.
And you're gonna be tested. It's gonna be 12:30 p.m. by the way.
Yeah.
12:30.
And
12:30
Well,
till
the
what?
test is gonna be Thursday,
12:32.
22nd of April. That's good. You're gonna finish Monday, 22nd of April.
26. Okay.
26.
No, that's good. That's good.
There is just one problem.
When is your test?
It's gonna be Thursday from the first week,
Okay.
22nd of April.
With whom? Wait, like, is there any?
One of us.
Oh, okay. That's
Wait, then
That's
what
what
is
we-
with math?
Alone.
Okay,
Yeah, math
good,
is
good,
on.
good.
There is just one thing strange. I can't find the world history guideline.
Maybe it's usually
Just
like
Unit
the
5 and
last
Unity.
3.
Yeah, Unit 5 and Unity. Just like that.
Wait, huh?
Unit 5 and Unit 8.
The whole 8 unit. Like,
Yeah, each unit. Unit 5 and Unit 8. Just
we cannot finish all of that. Come on, teacher. Like just it lives like the last three lessons.
okay, no problem. We will just fix it next week, and next week we'll just tell you all everything. All right. So once again, we're speaking about Northern Africa and the people of Northern Africa and how the Roman Empire started to take control over the countries and cities of Northern Africa in order to help in the trade process. Of course, Rome at one time started to just control Northern Africa. Okay, but actually, the Roman people they had something which is very very good. As they controlled other civilization, they started to totally mingle and merge with the civilization. Remember Alexander the Great when he took control of a very vast region in Unit 3?
Yes.
Alexander the Great, he asked his men to mingle and merge with the other civilization. The Roman actually, they followed Alexander's teaching literally, and they mingled with the other civilization. Mr. Late, can you please read for us?
Yes. Rome controls North Africa. Rome expanded its rule over much of North Africa from the coast to the Sahara and into Egypt. There, the Romans built roads, dams, aqueducts, and cities. They developed North African farmlands to harvest bumper crops of grain, fruit, and other foods. From North Africa, they imported lions and other fierce animals to Rome to do battle with gladiators. North Africa also provided soldiers for the Roman army, including Spitimius Severus, who would later become a Roman emperor.
Septimius Severus. Yes. Okay. So we're speaking about how the Roman Empire started to stretch toward the northern of Africa, and while doing so, of course, we need to ask ourselves just one question: why would any civilization try to take control of any other civilization?
For land or wealth or anything.
For
Any of
land,
this.
wealth, and resources, right? And while doing so, they're gonna construct some projects. So you are taking control of my country or invading my country, and you are making a project in my country. Is that good or bad?
It's bad.
If you are making a project, so these projects are good, right? But unfortunately, the projects are only made for what? Are only made to help those who came to invade the country. For example, if we come to Egypt and we made some irrigation project, so I'm making these irrigation projects so that you can grow some plants and crops, and later after the harvest, I'll take the raw materials that you have already grown. So I'm just making these projects for my own benefit after all. Like for example, in the last century, when United Kingdom started to take control of Egypt, they made the first train or railway line in the whole continent of Africa. The first train line in Africa or railway line was constructed in Egypt, and it was only meant to help the English people transport goods throughout Egypt. So it was not made for the Egyptian people. Okay, so the Roman Empire followed the same path, which is expanded its rule over much of northern Africa from the coast of Sahara until Egypt. And the Romans started to build roads. That's why we say all roads lead to Rome, dams, aqueducts, and also cities. All of these to help the Roman people. They developed North African farmland in order to harvest the bumper crops for grain, of course, fruit, and other foods. And one of the most important things that the Roman people were excellent in doing was entertaining. Entertaining. So they imported lions and fierce animals like leopards or even cheetah to Rome in order to battle with gladiators. Have you heard about the Coliseum before? Have you heard about the Coliseum?
Yes, it's the place where they do their fights, right?
Yes, exactly. The Coliseum, it was like a Roman temple where some gladiators, soldiers, sometimes servants or slaves were battle. So the here in this place, of course the emperor will sit and all the spectators from the city will sit here, and the people will fight in the arena. Of course, sometimes they brought some animals in order to fight with these gladiators. It was like a type of entertainment. So gladiators fight gladiators, and the gladiators fighting animals. It was just very very bad for them. So they started to take fierce animals and lions in order to battle with the gladiators and the Coliseum. North Africa also provides soldiers of Rome army. Okay, and that's a good thing. Here is a good thing because, of course, while invading more land and more countries, you will always be in the need for new soldiers. So you will start to import soldiers from the cities you are conquering. So they started to take soldiers from northern Africa, including a man called Septimus Severus. Septimus Severus. Septimus Severus himself, he was a man from northern Africa. Yet, after ascending in power, he became the Roman emperor. And that's a good thing, right? So you took control of my land, and you took me to serve in your army. But later I became your emperor. That's a good thing for the Roman people. We cannot neglect that. So the Roman people started to import people from the other countries in order to just fight their wars, and later some of these people became very, very high positions in the army. Even some of them can become the emperor himself. Under Roman rule, Christianity spread, of course, to the cities of northern Africa. In fact, Augustine, which was the most important thinker of the Christian people, the most influential Christian thinker of the late Roman Empire, he was born in Algeria. Augustine himself. Augustine is the most influential Christian thinker of the late Roman Empire. He was born in Algeria. Augustine also, he was a bishop. Bishop, like a man of religion, preaching people for Christianity and working in the church. So Augustine was a bishop of Hippo, a city located near the ruins of ancient Carthage. And Islam spread, of course, we have spoken about Islam spread. After the Roman Empire came, the Muslim Empire started to thrive in the Arabian Peninsula, and at the first reign of the first four caliphs, specifically at Umar ibn al-Khattab's reign, Amr ibn al-As came and he opened Egypt, and from Egypt, his cousin Tariq ibn Ziyad, which was actually Tariq ibn Ziyad, he was from the Amazighi people living in northern Africa. Tariq ibn Ziyad started to just unite all of northern Africa under the Islamic rule, and by that, Islam started to spread over the continent of Africa. Mr. Salim, Nawaf, you didn't read. Okay, Nawaf, you can read the first paragraph.
Yes, teacher. Hello?
Yes, you can read.
Yeah. Islam spread. In the 690s, Muslim Arabs conquered and occupied the cities of North Africa. By the early 700s, they had successfully conquered the Berbers, a largely nomadic North African people. Islam also spread peacefully as, over time, Muslim traders from North Africa carried Islam into West Africa. Muslim civilization blossomed in cities such as Cairo, Fez, and Marrakesh, which became famous for their mosques and universities. Muslim, Jewish, and Christian traders and merchants lived, bartered, and interacted with one another as commerce expanded throughout Northwest Africa. Jewish communities formed near Muslim and Christian enclaves, including those in Ghana, Mali, and later Songhai. Some African societies adopted aspects of the religions into their cultures, while many Africans continued to practice traditional religions such as ancestor worship. Islam eventually became the dominant religion in many regions of Africa and Muslim caliphates governed many African kingdoms. The caliphates established a centralized system of government and a vast trade network to India and China, which allowed
the movement of goods between both regions to flourish. So, once again, the Islamic civilization started to thrive towards the northern Africa by the early Muslim civilization, as early Muslim people started to mingle with the northern African people and teach them about their own culture and spread Islam over that continent. So, from being Berber, Amazighi, to live in Carthage, then to come counter the Phoenicians, the Roman people, the Egyptian, and later the Muslim people. Northern Africa has faced several changes over the course of time and met with many diverse civilizations.
Countries span the northern coast of the African continent: Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. The region is home to approximately 200 million people, the vast majority of whom near the Mediterranean coast and along the banks of the Nile River in Egypt. North Africa is bounded by the Atlantic Ocean to the west, the Mediterranean Sea in the north, and the Sahara, the largest desert in the world, and the west of each called the Maghreb, an Arabic term meaning the west. The culturally linked Northwest African nation of Mauritania is also typically included in definitions of the Maghreb. The partially recognized Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic also lies within the Maghreb. The native Amazigh people of this region call the land Tamazgha. The Amazigh, commonly known in the West as Berbers, formed as a distinct people group from early Neolithic communities many thousands of years before written history. The ancient Egyptians established the first great civilization and historical records on the African continent. Ancient Egyptian history is divided into three main periods: the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. The Old Kingdom formed after the pre-dynastic states of Upper and Lower Egypt were united. The rule of the pharaoh was established and the pyramids built. This was followed by a period of civil war, known as the First Intermediate Period. The Middle Kingdom re-established pharaonic rule and expanded Egyptian territory. Pharaohs also campaigned to the northeast, extracting tribute from the kings of Canaanite city-states. During this time, there was also a considerable amount of peaceful migration from the Near East into Egypt. Some of these migrants, known as the Hyksos, established self-rule in the Nile Delta. Expanding from there, they conquered the majority of Egypt. The Nubian kingdom of Kush expanded into the south, with only a small piece of territory remaining in Egyptian control. After a tough few centuries, the Egyptians regrouped and drove out the invaders, establishing a very militaristic new kingdom. Egypt reached the height of its power. It waged war, signed peace treaties, and made marriage alliances as it became part of the larger Near Eastern world, an unprecedented age of commerce, diplomacy, and imperial might. Nobody expects the Sea People! The Sea People were a coalition of seafaring marauders in search of plunder and/or a new home as well. They were a major escalating symptom and the cause of the Bronze Age collapse, where all major civilizations of the Near East collapsed or contracted within the span of a few years. Libyan tribes, who had opportunistically raided Egyptian territory for centuries, allied with the Sea People. Egypt was able to survive the onslaught, defeating and hiring many of the invaders into the ranks of its own army, but it was greatly weakened in the aftermath. Over the next few centuries of Egyptian decline and internal infighting, Libyans who had joined the Egyptian army exerted ever-increasing control over the state. In 945 BC, Shoshenq, the Libyan commander-in-chief of the Egyptian army, seized power and united Egypt. Like the great pharaohs of the past, Shoshenq successfully campaigned in the Near East. During the 2 centuries of Libyan rule in Egypt, the country saw a military and economic resurgence, before splitting in two and then into chaos, with numerous Libyan warlords ruling small city-states and regions. The Nubian king of Kush, Pa, brushed aside these small states, uniting Egypt and crowning himself pharaoh. Under Nubian leadership, Egypt prospered, and pyramids were regularly constructed again for the first time in nearly 1,000 years. However, from the onset, Kushite Egypt was at odds against the greatest military power of the day, ancient Assyria. Several campaigns were launched to help protect both the kingdom of Judah and the Philistines against Assyrian aggression. These campaigns were ultimately unsuccessful. Assyria later retaliated and conquered Egypt, installing native puppet rulers there. Assyrian expansionism also motivated many Phoenician Canaanites from modern-day Lebanon to migrate to North Africa, where they founded many colonies. Most importantly, Carthage. As the Phoenician city-states gradually fell under Assyrian control, Carthage asserted its authority over the former Phoenician colonies in the west to form an empire. The city-states of Greece also founded colonies in North Africa, Sicily, and southern Italy that rivaled Carthage in commerce and in war. Egypt gained its independence as the Assyrian Empire collapsed. Shortly afterwards, it defeated a Babylonian invasion with the help of Greek mercenaries, only to be conquered a few years later by the Persian Achaemenid Empire, which was the largest the world had yet seen at that time. A Persian plan to conquer all of North Africa was thwarted by the Phoenician sailors who made up the vast majority of the Persian navy when they refused to participate in any hostile actions against their own kin in Carthage. The Carthaginian Empire entered into a long series of wars with the cities of Magna Graecia over the control of Mediterranean trade, with mixed results.
So, we're simply speaking, from one invasion to another invasion, the people from North Africa started to mingle with civilization, which tried to take control of them. And unfortunately, the session is over, so we shall continue tomorrow. Any questions so far before we leave?
No, thank you very much for the lesson, teacher.
Enjoy the rest of your day and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.